Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, 24/7 shopping available. 160920 is the code. Show her some love, like she showed us. K&A Custom Crafts on Facebook.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Coast to Coast Entertainment Network. I am Ace, and of course, tonight I'm joined by a great group of gentlemen. Number one, let's go ahead and start out with I know my youngest son's been wearing this out all night, but we got to do it. Joe. There you go. All right.
Where'd my number one fan go, man? I was enjoying that very much.
I think he took off to his bedroom. And then, of course, let's welcome in our fearless leader, none other than Mr. William Hudson from TRC. How is it going tonight, my man? Will? Okay. I know Will's there. Will's there somewhere. I keep calling Will, but I guess he can't hear us. What's going on right now? But I know he's there. Will. Sound check. Okay, anyway. So when it comes to it, we have a great, kind of an exciting week of wrestling, I guess, to a certain degree, depending on, what type of fan you are. Do you love AEW? Do you love WWE? Do you love Impact? Or are you just a wrestling fan in general? Because I'll tell you what, right now, to me, I feel like there's too much competition going on. I feel like right now, if you're a wrestling fan, you should just be enjoying wrestling all around right now because there's a lot of good stuff going on. But, we always start out with our first topic of, breaking down maybe AEW, breaking down Impact Wrestling. And, of course, who is better than doing that than our good old Joe? So, Joe, go ahead, give us that little AEW breakdown. What'd you think of AEW this week?
Not a bad show. It was interesting to see Kyle O'Reilly show up, which I think we all knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
Kind of intrigued now a little bit with that. I'm kind of intrigued to see where that storyline is going to go because if you've seen the Young Bucks, they were kind of distanced with that at the beginning of it. I would have probably had him debut a little bit differently in that matchup, though, instead of just coming out through the crowd like that. But overall, predictable that he was going to show. I think the next one's going to be Gargano. Rampage this week was the ratings were up for the Christmas edition show, believe it or not. So people are upset that Cody is a 3-time TNT champion, but I think the long term is I was reading something on it today. There's going to be Cody even said there's going to be a couple different ways his character is going to go. I think he's going to be like that John Cena. You're going to love him and hate him at the same time. But it looks like there's going to be a roller coaster ride with Cody Rhodes' character going forward. But other than that, AEW was an okay show for what it was. It wasn't nothing really, really big. It's setting up for Battle of the Belts. And other than the one surprise, it was a pretty decent show there.
So Frank Turizzo is on here saying that NXT sucks. Well, I guess it really depends. It does have this ups and downs. And then Scott Pace is saying, you can't say there's a lot of good stuff going on right now after that Raw last night. However, let me clarify something. So the only thing that you can say right now that kind of hurt them is, they have some people out on COVID. And there's actually some big time names that are currently out. So they kind of have to fill in those little spots because of COVID. But so we can't really hear you, Big B. So we have our AEW breakdown from Joe there. He said, it was a decent show going on. Let's go over to Will now. Will, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay. So Will, go ahead and give us that little bit of a breakdown of Impact Wrestling.
I don't have much to report on Impact. They're starting to build up for their big show here in January, but I don't have much to report. I need to give them more attention. I've been busy with the holidays and everything else, so I couldn't really tell you a whole lot. But the last time I saw it, not much had changed. So I don't really have anything to report on Impact, unfortunately.
This week's show, that I'll tell you, was just like this upcoming week's show was a best of for their year. They did a couple. Yeah, they did a couple of year-end awards. They gave out Tag Team of the Year, which are the Good Brothers. But other than that, nothing. Like Will says, for last week and this week, it's just they're wrapping up the year.
Yeah, so I think a big thing that I kind of want to touch on really quick before we jump to our next topic, I think Will had mentioned it or Joe did, that people were actually angry about Cody Rhodes being a three-time TNT champion. But when you think about it, Joe, since you were kind of talking about AEW, does that kind of upset you that Cody Rhodes won it again?
No, I don't. I think there's a long-term storyline to it. I think people are just entitled to their opinions, right or wrong. I mean, they're kind of saying Cody's the Jeff Jarrett of AEW, but I mean, look at Young Bucks. They were tag team champions, and they have a very prominent role in AEW as well too. So if you're going to be upset that Cody's a TNT champion, then I say then none of those guys in executive roles, Kenny Omega, Young Bucks, Cody, should ever be a champion. Then if that's all people are going to do is complain about it, but he won it fair and square, clean. He's a little heel turn, but that was after the show when David Crockett came out. He kind of made that joke like John Cena did a couple years ago when he said, "I'm going to turn heel," and he turned his heel afterwards and said, "See, I turned heel." So, no, I'm not upset with it. I think it sets him up with Ethan Page, which is going to be the next challenger, and then we'll go from there. I think there's bigger plans for Sammy right now. So Sammy's going through a couple little things right now, as people may be aware of, that his engagement to his fiance is now off again, and there's some rumors circulating around there, whether they're true or not. So I think Sammy may just be taking a little time.
How long have bookers been booking themselves to win titles, and now here going into 2022, people have a problem with it? How many years has this been going on?
Yeah, right.
Since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
Since the beginning of time, really.
Yeah.
I mean, Vince booked himself to win the WWE Championship. Go figure.
Yeah.
All right. So let me answer this question for Scott Pace really quick. Will, I know you answered it in the comments, but I do want to let him know that if you want to ask a question, Scott, go ahead and throw it out there, and we will answer your question. Don't hesitate to throw out questions. That's fine. And also welcome in OE Sheets. But, yeah, so, Tim Fielder, Cody Rhodes was kind of ugly at the end. Or that's kind of match was ugly at the end. That's what he was trying to say. So, So it sounds like, Will, you were saying that you don't have a problem with Cody Rhodes winning the belt again. Joe, you said you don't have a problem with it. And me personally, I don't even know what the big deal is. Like you see people who are multi-time, world heavyweight champions, multi-time Impact Wrestling. It doesn't matter. You see multiple champions. So I think the problem that they're trying to say is because he's a promoter and kind of like that. But I don't think it should matter, really.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. They're booking Sammy to be bigger and bigger going forward, and Sammy doesn't need that title right now to get over because he is getting over on his own. And if you put it on Cody, then you got to eventually have him drop it to somebody else, and he's just going to build somebody else. So I don't think you really need Sammy to drop it to somebody else to build him when you're already kind of built Sammy. Sammy is not, probably more than a year, 18 months away from being in the World Heavyweight title picture. So I'm not sure that it hurts his character whatsoever. I mean, the guy has a huge following, and he's very believable as a champion.
All right, so Scott's question is, and he's true, because this is actually, you usually get a lot of different answers on this question. So Scott is wanting to know from each of us, he's saying, who is going to win the Royal Rumble and who you would like to see win, each men and women. So, Will, I'll start with you. Who do you see winning the Royal Rumble on the male side and the female side?
I see Kevin Owens winning the Royal Rumble. And on the female side of it, unfortunately, I hate to say it, but I think it's going to be probably Zelina Vega, because usually the winner of the Royal Rumble is no one that you would ever really predict. But the one that should win it, and the one that I'd like to see win it, is Bianca Belair. but I have a feeling it's going to be Zelina again. And then for the men, I think KO will win it. And I think somehow you end up with KO in the WWE title picture going against Big E. And I think for the Universal, you end up seeing Lesnar, Reigns, and Bobby Lashley in a triple threat.
All right, so Brandon's saying for him, he also has KO on the men's side, but he has Dewdrop on the women's side. So, and then Jemias is here. So Jemias is here. He's saying, William Hudson, what's up, Boost? All right, so Joe, I'm going to go to you. Who do you have see winning on the men's side and then the women's side?
Dominic Mysterio.
What? Okay, I wasn't sure. I was like, is that a joke? I hope that's a joke.
I try to say it with a straight face.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm going to throw a swerve in there, man. I think it's going to be Brock. I think that he gets screwed out. Something happens at day one. Either he wins it, my head. So I think Brock, but I would like to see. I think Drew. Wins it. Like Will says with Kevin Owens, I think KO is right there too on it. But it's tough. I think one of those three guys, but I think overall, I think Brock either wins it, and if he doesn't, then I say Drew. Women's side, Dewdrop. Huh. Vega?
Huh.
I see Vega. I could see Vega because the women's, unfortunately, I mean, I don't, no disrespect to the women wrestlers. There's just not a lot of strong women wrestlers out there right now that can go that I think that the WWE is willing to put effort into, and it seems like they are really only putting effort into Vega and Liv. I just don't know if Liv can go through 29 other women, or hypothetically speaking, they say that you got to go through 29, but whatever number she would come in at to be able to win the whole thing. But she might be that sleeper and get her WrestleMania moment, but I can see Vega. I'll go with that with the Will because they're pushing her pretty strong right now.
All right.
Yep.
I'm kind of right there with you. I was thinking of like KO, but there was actually one kind of surprise one I wanted to throw out there to not Sami Zayn on the conspiracy side. I wasn't going to say that. But there was actually one person, and it might be too soon, but I'm saying don't be surprised. And I was going to actually throw out Omos.
Omos for the Rumble?
Omos, yeah.
He's smoking that wacky tobacco up there tonight, boy. I'll tell you.
Omos.
He's too young.
He wasn't even at Raw Monday night, man. They sent him home on a plane.
Okay, I was trying to pull a Joe, and I couldn't keep a straight face. I'm sorry. I was trying to pull a Joe. No,
more realistic that Dominic would win it over Omos.
But I can see AJ doing it. I can see AJ winning it.
AJ Styles, well, yeah, because, okay, so speaking of that, which can transition us into our next rumors like we were talking about. And that's only because, like you're saying with AJ Styles, I have heard that, this is going to be his final run for like any company. Then after his contract expires, he wants to retire. So this is where I could kind of agree with you, William, to where maybe at this point they're like, okay, let's give AJ Styles one last push. Let's have him win a Royal Rumble, win the title, and then have him move on. But on that side, though, I kind of have heard, though, that at day one, they're supposed to have like some kind of ending at the end that's supposed to be like a build-up for WrestleMania. So I don't know exactly what they're talking about or what they plan on doing, but it's supposed to be something like that, some kind of build-up.
Well, they're talking about.
Well, they've got to have a huge build-up for WrestleMania because right now, I don't know, how it would even be possible to sell 100,000 tickets to that show because it's not very entertaining if you haven't watched it lately.
Okay, Joe, you were going to say something?
No, I was going to say, yeah, because WrestleMania right now they got like a buy 3 get 1 free ticket right now. That tells you how bad they're hurting. The rumor in innuendo, as they say, is that it's supposed to be with Reigns and Lesnar, it's supposed to be some kind of big build, which puts them into the WrestleMania matchup, whether it be Heyman working in cahoots with Reigns this whole entire time, with him supposedly getting fired, or he does help Roman Lesnar win it, and then he turns on Lesnar at WrestleMania. So they're supposed to be that's what the big build is that they're talking about. But right now with the COVID thing, they're trying to just get everybody there. The story today was they're hoping that Roman, Lesnar, and Heyman can be at day one this upcoming Saturday because of everything that's going on. And if they're not, then that kind of messes up WrestleMania plans, is what I heard earlier today.
Yeah, and so Will, I see you commented on Jemias because Jemias said we get Rock versus Reigns at Mania. I just don't think it's going to happen. I really don't
I don't
think
either.
The Rock's going to be at Mania.
I don't either.
People are talking about it, but
Next year, Rock and Roman next year.
Yeah, because I think this year he's too busy, so I don't foresee it going to Mania this year. Because I think around that time, I think he's working on some kind of movie or something.
That and he's filming his TV show.
That would make sense. I knew there was some reason why when people were talking about it, I'm like, no, he won't be there this year. I know people wanted him to, and they wanted to see Rock versus Reigns, but you're not going to get that this year.
Well, they're talking about something with Austin too. They're saying Austin's been they're working Austin into a big role for WrestleMania this year, which you're going to need to be able to sell at least 60, 70,000 tickets. You're not going to sell 100,000 seats both nights, but you need some big name stars in there to try to boost up your sales right now. Because honestly, there's nobody I really want to tune in to watch unless it's a Lesnar Lashley match. I think that'd be an awesome match. But other than that, everything else you've kind of seen already.
The Beast. That's right. So OE Sheets is saying, isn't Roman and Brock having a match at day? Well, they're supposed to be, but with this COVID thing right now, we don't know. That's the thing that's going around right now is, because we know that Rollins had tested positive for COVID. He came out and said that. Big E supposedly did. And, because Seth Rollins tested positive for it, that means that Becky has to stay home because she's married to Rollins. And so Bianca Belair did. So it kind of puts a big damper in things that are going on at day one.
Yeah, and they're trying to keep everybody away because even though those guys didn't test positive, if they were around somebody that was positive, they're keeping them out at home. And really with Roman, he's got, with that leukemia that he has, he's got to be super, super careful with what he's doing.
Yeah, which I will say, so I read a comment about this, and I'll tell you, this comment actually bugged me. And when it originally came out that Roman Reigns was sent home, from a live show, from a live house show, he was sent home. So somebody actually went on there. There was like one or two comments to where people were like, oh, so this is supposed to be your face of the company, yet he's selfish enough to where he can't hang out and wrestle his match at a live show. And I'm like, are you serious? Are you serious? Like,
well, he was at home for a live event here in Tampa and Orlando, and Will and I both live here in Florida. Our numbers are not as high as everywhere else, but our numbers are high. I mean, you go to Orlando, that's a tourist area. I mean, Disney World's there. Everybody's flying in. So, and with Roman, you can't, I don't care what a fan says, when you got some kind of disease like that, he's got to be so super careful. He is the face of their company. They're protecting him. So if something god awful would happen to him and he passes away, then he ain't the face of the company no more. And then what's the fan going to say? Then he should have stayed home. I mean, that's just immature people that don't know what they're talking about.
All right, so to touch on these rumors here for the final part of the rumors, the one that I want to touch on really quick because it says rumors about KO. So as we saw, it shows that KO re-signed with WWE. Now, Will, I can start with you. Does this shock you that he re-signed with WWE? Because he came out and said he did it because it was best for his family and that he was offered a good contract, and that's why he did it.
It doesn't shock me at all. As a matter of fact, if you were to go back and look at previous episodes of Mania that we've done, I called this on one of the very first episodes saying eventually it's going to get to a point where the guys that are left are really going to kind of run the kingdom because there's not going to be a whole lot of, challenges for him. So I think that, he's definitely a future champion, WWE champion, Universal champion. And it's kind of like survival of the fittest or last man standing, because when you start getting down to the talent pool that you have now, I mean, there's not a lot of people that you could just strap the belt on real quick and be a believable champion. KO is a very believable champion. And, I think it's the right move. The other competitors or competing show, the biggest competing show, is losing viewers by the hordes every week. And I wouldn't want to be an AEW bound person right now. If I had WWE offering me that kind of money, I would definitely stay put.
Now, because, once Kevin Owens re-signed, then Sami Zayn followed suit. And then the rumors were that Sami Zayn then re-signed after Kevin Owens. So once I saw that actually didn't shock me, because I figured once Kevin Owens was going to re-sign, then Sami Zayn was going to re-sign also. So, Joe, did this kind of surprise you, though, that Kevin Owens re-signed with WWE?
Yes and no. I was kind of hoping that he was going to go to AEW, but AEW is just gobbling up all the talent right now, and there's only so much time on AEW that you can showcase a talent. Only thing with KO's deal is he got a really good deal, I think, for another 3 years or whatever it is. But he wanted a no-cut deal, and Vince isn't giving any wrestler a no-cut deal. So if Vince wakes up tomorrow morning and says, I don't like Kevin Owens, he gets cut, but that doesn't only just include him. That includes every superstar on that roster right now. So, yeah, they're making big money, but you can't guarantee you're going to make that money. That's the only problem with the WWE right now. At least with AEW, you got kind of a guaranteed contract, so you know what you're getting paid every week, which would benefit him with his family. But with WWE, yeah, he got big money, but hopefully he can stay long enough to reap the rewards of that. That's the only bad thing.
I think he will, though, because I think Kevin Owens, that type of guy that Vince McMahon can actually kind of build a company around too. I think that's why Vince kept him, because he's such a talented, wrestler. You have Kevin Owens and you have Seth Rollins. And look, the thing is I understand a lot of people don't like Sami Zayn. I get it. But Sami Zayn is talented. He is a talented wrestler. And so
he's like an MJF to me. He's just a guy that you'd love to hate. He can come across as that.
Just like The Miz. The Miz is another guy that comes off to people go, I hate this guy. If you hate him, guess what? He's doing his job, because that's what he's supposed to do. And I don't think a lot of people understand that, because a lot of people are like, man, I can't stand this guy. Okay, well, you hate him. So guess what? That means he's doing his job as a heel. That's what they're supposed to do as heel wrestlers. That's what they do. They're trying to get you to hate him.
Miz is awesome.
All right. Oh yeah, the Miz.
I
is
love
fantastic.
Miz, man. My wife loves Miz. She absolutely loves Miz Maurice. She thinks those two are the coolest people ever.
Welcome back in, Big B.
Is my mic working?
Yep, you're good.
All right. Sorry about that, guys. Technical
good.
issues. So
All right, so let's go ahead and jump into our next topic, which is our wrestling historical moment. On this one, we're going to talk about Starrcade 1999. The big one is Brett versus Goldberg. So, Will, if you want to go ahead and kick us off with this one, go ahead and kick us off with Starrcade 99.
So 22 years ago, December of 99, anytime I think of the month of December, I've discussed this before, I always think about WCW Starrcade. And 22 years ago, main event of that was Bret Hart defending the World Heavyweight Championship that he had won only 1 month earlier at the Mayhem pay-per-view. The Mayhem pay-per-view ended up being a King of the Ring type tournament, where previously it had been the World War III pay-per-view. They did away with World War III and the 3 rings and the Rumble and all that, and made it into a tournament which was like a King of the Ring style for the WCW Heavyweight Championship, which Bret Hart and Chris Benoit ended up being in the finals. That Bret wins. He wins the first WCW Championship, November of 99. Everybody thinks, wow, He's finally there. He's finally going to run WCW just like he was in WWF as, a major world champion. Then he gets 1 month out, literally 4 weeks out from that event, goes into Starrcade as a champion against Goldberg, which the match itself, excellent match from beginning to end, great match. The finish of the match, which I hate to spoil it, but I mean, it's 22 years old, so if you don't already know the finish, I'm sorry. But the finish of the match, there is no finish. It kind of ends in like a no winner, it's kind of like a draw. And, that was kind of a bummer for how good that match was. And then the very next night on Nitro, you had Bret Hart versus Goldberg, round number 2, basically, for the WCW title. Bret Hart vacated the title at the beginning of Nitro. And then he ends up having a match with Goldberg again that Monday night for the title. He ends up beating Goldberg with the help of the Outsiders. He ends up joining the NWO, and they do like a reboot of the NWO. And he becomes a 2-time WCW champion that next night. Unfortunately, later that week, he goes to the doctor, finds out a concussion. He can't compete. You go into the very next pay-per-view in January. By that time, Bret has to relinquish the belt, and they move on with another WCW champion, and Bret's career is over. But overall, for the match and the pay-per-view, outstanding match. The only other real notable match on that card was Nash and Sid, which was the Powerbomb versus the Powerbomb. Outstanding match. I would highly recommend, if you're going to watch it, turn it on Peacock, fast forward to the 1 hour and 50-minute mark where it starts with Nash and Sid, and then watch that and watch Bret and Goldberg. And those two are both matches that deliver. Other than that, not a tremendous card, but pretty good overall.
Yeah, which I planned on going back and watching that. But when I saw this match that said, Master of the Powerbomb, because, we know that Kevin Nash did the Powerbomb. We know that Sid Vicious did the Powerbomb. But when you look at this match, and they called it, Master of the Powerbomb match, my question was this some kind of special thing, like you had to use the power bomb to win the match, or if you won the match, you could use the power bomb, the other one couldn't? What exactly? Why did they? Was there some kind of special stipulation when it came to it?
The match was supposed to end on a power bomb, so if you power bombed your opponent, the match was supposed to end.
Oh, okay, that makes sense now. Okay. All right, so Joe, any fault?
It's pretty good. I'd recommend watching it. It's pretty good.
All right, Joe.
There was
any
controversy in
follow-up
that
on
match. Yeah, actually, Bret beat Goldberg in that match. Remember, it was he beat him by submission, but there was so much controversy in that title match that Bret vacated the title the next night, and they redid it. But actually, that match was. I'm looking at their stats. That match was the longest match on the whole entire Starrcade pay-per-view at 12 minutes and 7 seconds. It means Goldberg had a 10-minute entrance. I'm only kidding.
You're right. No, I would take your word on that. He had a 10-minute entrance or did something.
I'm kidding,
mean,
but it was a 12-minute match. It was unfortunately, it was 13 matches on that show, and 12 minutes and 7 seconds was the longest match of the whole entire show, and there was that main event one. But the fallout of that was that Bret got the title, but it was the start of supposed to be the new NWO 2000 with the silver lining around them. But unfortunately, they all got hurt. I mean, Jeff Jarrett got hurt with a concussion too. If you remember, he fought 3 guys that night, Jimmy Snuka and 2 other legends, and got a concussion. That ended that run. And then we get the rebuild of the New Blood versus Millionaires Club. So everything that we worked towards Starrcade was just kind of thrown out the window come April. And then not too long after that, WCW folds. So it's a unfortunate time for WCW at this point. They're already losing a rating war. Matches are not super good. You have a couple good matches here and there, but nothing real major. I mean, Sting and Lex Luger went at it for only 5 minutes in that match, which usually they're good for 15, 20 minutes.
But can you imagine what would have happened, though, if Bret stayed healthy and continued on leading the NWO in the role of Hogan and as champion? I mean, that would have opened up a whole new career for him. His value would have, his stock value would have went through the roof basically. So
100%.
horrible
I think that
timing,
would.
terrible, tragic.
I agree 100% on that. I think that it would have gave not only the NWO storyline but WCW a shot to move up a little bit. At least it would have helped them go in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because if you think about WWE at the end of '99, it wasn't very good.
No.
Big B, I believe you wanted to say something.
Well, actually, Joe kind of touched on it. I mean, the Sting Luger match, kind of surprised me. With it only being 5 minutes long, I mean, yeah, they could go 10, 20 minutes to put on a good match at that time. I mean, but, just having that one match, so I would start there, actually, with the Sting Luger match and then go through, like Will was saying earlier.
So the only reason I didn't say start there is because when you watch it, you're gonna go, "Oh, I shouldn't have bothered watching," because it wasn't very good. That's the problem. Is you have two guys that could tear the house down. They could have main evented that card and been a tremendous match, and then it just kind of turned into garbage. So that's the only reason I recommend starting with Sid and Nash is because there's so many other matches on there. I think one of the matches, and Joe can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think one of the other matches was DDP versus David Flair.
Yep.
And that was
before that one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
match 12 was really good. Chris Benoit and Jeff Jarrett.
The
ladder match was really good match.
Yeah, but it also showed because, and I know who these guys are, but Will, you're talking about that some of the matches were questionable. Now, Vampiro also wrestled 2 matches in this one. He wrestled back-to-back matches.
Yeah, but he faced Oklahoma. I mean, I could have faced Oklahoma.
Well, that's what I'm saying though. So when he's talking about questionable matches, I think that if somebody's gonna watch it, like me personally, I would skip over the Vampiro matches because that to me just doesn't even sound exciting. And Norman Smiley, versus me.
Come on, the Big Wiggle, man. It was the get over move. It ranked up there as high as the Worm.
That's as bad as Disco Inferno.
Oh, Disco Inferno was awesome.
This would have made the pay-per-view even better if Disco was on there.
Yeah.
Disco Inferno.
Him versus Vader on here would have been awesome.
Yeah, if you'd have had him in that powerbomb match, that would have made it good. They would have powerbombed. They both took turns powerbombing him. That would have been good.
How about Norman Smiley teaming up with Disco Inferno to face Ming and Vader? That would have been awesome.
So for those of you who might have come on late or watching this late, basically what Will and Joe are saying is that you should basically watch 3 matches out of this entire pay-per-view. It's basically what it is. You should watch Kevin Nash versus Sid Vicious. You should watch Chris Benoit versus Jeff Jarrett. And then you should definitely watch the main event between Bret Hart and Goldberg, which would be shocking, 12-minute match. So I definitely agree with Joe that there was probably like some kind of like 8-minute intro with Goldberg walking around the outside for like 2 extra minutes before he gets in the ring and then actually wrestles against Bret Hart.
That 12 minutes is bell to bell. It was literally 12 minutes in the ring, bell to bell.
It is.
But if you add the intro in, it was probably like 30 minutes total.
9 minutes of it was Goldberg walking around the ring, and then the 11th minute was him miss-kicking Bret's head off, and then Bret getting up, stumbling around, and giving him the sharpshooter. Because at that point, Goldberg was knocked. I don't even remember what happened in that match. I think Goldberg got knocked out because Kevin Nash and Scott Hall came down and interfered or something like that. And Bret played it off, and he didn't know what was going on. That's probably because he got his head kicked off just about 30 seconds before that.
Well, people know how I feel about Goldberg, so that's why. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, he's got to have shoulder surgery here coming up. He says once he retires, he's going to have shoulder surgery. That's because he was carrying WCW on his back for all those years.
Wow, he's actually gonna retire here soon.
Oh, he didn't say retire. He said when he retires. That's a big win. WWE likes to throw him a couple $1,000,000 a year just to go to Saudi.
Well, he's only supposed to have like on his current contract. I think he said he only has like one more match or
Oh,
something.
that's why he's going to win the Royal Rumble. I'm going to go back and rechange it. He's winning the
No.
Rumble.
You know what? You just want to make my Royal Rumble watching horrible. That's what
Yep.
you want to do.
I think Goldberg's last match is going to be with his son. They're going to team up somehow.
Well, yeah, we can have a. Yeah.
The Goldberg versus the Mysterios.
Yeah, and Ray finally turns heel.
Yeah.
I think it'll be Dominic that actually would turn heel, not Ray.
I kind of thought I was going to see that Monday night last night. I thought I was going. I think you're starting to see that though a little bit. Ray was disgusted on the outside of the ring there, so it might be coming there.
It'll be
I would
Ray
love
that
to
turns
see-
this time.
I would love to see Ray grab a chair and just smack Dominic in the head with the chair as hard as he possibly can.
Well, he would have to jump
just
to
keep,
do it.
and just keep telling him,
I know.
hey, listen, man, this is what you get for calling Eddie your daddy all these years.
I know,
Oh
man.
my
I
God.
would love to see it.
Just
The biggest
And then they
heel
bring
move in
Vicky
wrestling,
Guerrero
him
out?
straight
yeah,
up hit
yeah.
the
Who's your
chair.
poppy now, man? Just beat him
your
up,
poppy
beat him
now?
with that thing. I adopted you, you little bastard.
Yep.
So, really quick before we go into our next topic, because I'm doing a watch party on my Facebook though too, and I actually have a question on that side.
You watching
the-
Goldberg, aren't you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm watching Goldberg. I've got it streamed right here to where I can watch Goldberg win every single one of his titles. Then I go in and I throw a party afterwards. But
Well, there's only like 3, so that's not too long.
Yeah.
But after the question that we have is this person's asking if you could bring one wrestler back, who would it be? You know, if any wrestler who died, who would you like to see come back?
Oh,
If-
that's easy.
Big
It's
B,
Owen. It's Owen Hart. Owen Hart.
Owen
for
Hart?
sure. Yeah.
Owen Hart, Joe.
Well, since he went Owen, because I mean that's almost
That's almost a
it-
given.
almost a gimme there, and I mean I could throw out Eddie too, but really, just to see a really good WrestleMania match, I would love to bring Andre back and have Andre Taker WrestleMania.
Oh,
Ooh.
That'll put 100,000 in the seats.
whoa.
Ooh, that. Oh, yeah.
I didn't even think about that one. I really didn't even
You might
think
have to
about
throw
that.
Omos in that since they consider him the new Andre.
God, I hope not, unless he's fighting Goldberg.
All right, Will, how about you?
Well, I absolutely 100% agree with Big B about Owen because to be able to erase that tragedy would be just tremendous. That'd be the greatest thing that could ever happen.
Yeah.
But as far as a talent and being able to have them in their prime today in a match, I would bring back Macho Man. I think that would be incredible in today's WWE to have Macho Man come out in his prime against anybody. I mean, you put Macho against Roman, you put Macho against Seth, you put Macho against any of them, and that would be tremendous. But
Elias.
you know, obviously from the tragic side, you know, bringing back Owen would be probably the number one thing that you could possibly do. That would be tremendous.
So I do agree with all those, but for me, I was actually I'm a huge Eddie Guerrero fan, so for me, I would love to bring Eddie back. I just think, you know what, and I'm not saying that, you know, the people you're saying didn't do a lot for the company. I'm just saying, you know, overall, Eddie was just getting basically into the prime of his career. He was starting to become big. And so I would really love to see what he could really do now, but we do have a few comments. So Scott Pace is saying, maybe it's just me, but does Dominic does not look TV match ready. He doesn't lay moves in to look authentic. And you know what? We've actually said this before, though. Like, we have discussed Dominic, and we've said, you know, maybe he's not TV match ready. He has improved some, but maybe he's just not TV match ready. I mean,
I agree with that.
I agree with it. I think he's ready to a point. I just think watching him and his dad work together, it's just weird. I think just the height difference. You know, maybe that's why everybody thinks he's just not there, because you watch his dad all these years and you're thinking, okay, his son's going to be just like him, but his son's like twice his size. So I think that might be the perspective of them being together. Because I see a different Mysterio when he's wrestling himself or one-on-one with somebody. So
Well, you look at Dominic too. He all of his training, besides the training that he has had personally, has all been in the ring. His first match was at
yeah,
SummerSlam with Seth.
yeah,
And from there, and that was during the COVID era of the
yeah.
Thunderdome, so you can kind of work around a little bit of that. But now he's really starting to
He's
get
getting his
training
own.
on the road and in
Yep.
front of a live crowd. So he didn't get to go through NXT and do like a lot of guys do. He kind of got shot to the big time there. So learn as he goes.
Yeah. So, Jemias is also saying, nobody mentioned Pillman.
Well, I think because there's so many, like
Yeah.
Big B says, and Owen, 100% comes
Chris
back.
Benoit.
Chris Benoit, I think, and rewrite that whole entire history thing,
Yeah.
with that. I don't, and Pillman, same thing. There's so many.
There was
Savage.
another comment earlier I wanted to Owen Hart based. What video package could AEW have?
They
right
did
here?
the Owen Hart tournament cup. Oh, that's what I
Yeah.
forgot to announce in my AEW thing. They
Yeah.
actually officially announced the men and women tournament for the
Okay.
Owen Hart cup that's going to
But
be.
do you think they'll use
and
any
they showed
kind
a
of
video package, and it was based
Okay.
upon his New Japan stuff.
Oh, New Japan, okay.
Yeah, which was another question, which they're saying, who do you think's going to win the Owen?
Ooh.
I didn't even see who was in it.
Nobody. They haven't announced nobody yet for it.
They haven't announced nobody yet?
It looks like it's going to be a 16-man women tournament, but nothing has been announced. I don't think we get anything really going until their next pay-per-view, and then maybe something in March. And I think their finals, they're talking about like Double or Nothing. Their big pay-per-view.
Okay.
All right, so we'll touch on two more questions here, and then we'll jump to our next topic. So Jemias, and this is a point that I believe Joe was talking about. He says, "What I want to know is why did Dom not have to pay his dues in NXT like Charlotte did? One of the one that Dom just kind of got to jump up there without having to actually move through NXT, like you see a majority of these wrestlers have to do."
COVID.
You really think it's with COVID?
Yes, because when he came in.
I have a different answer.
Okay.
When Charlotte came in, the WWE roster was a mile long. When Dominic came in, the WWE roster was a quarter of what it used to be, and there was room to put him on the tours. And they needed somebody that they could throw into matches, throw into events, and travel all over. And I think he had done his training as far as outside of the facility and stuff. And I think they took a shot on him.
But do you think they would have done that if it wasn't for COVID?
Yeah, because he came in during the Thunderdome era where they weren't traveling, so he was learning, and the Performance Center wasn't even open at the time because it was shut down because it was a non-essential.
I think if it's not COVID, we don't see Dominic until this year or next year, if it's not COVID related.
I think the roster was thin, and they needed somebody else to put on the card, and they needed something to do with Mysterio. They've got him under contract. You don't want to let a Mysterio go because he draws a lot of fans. He draws a lot of memorabilia and T-shirt money. So you don't want to let that guy go, and you want to appease him. You want to appease him, so you bring his kid to the main roster with him, and I think that's more what it is. Plus, we've talked about it 100 times, but I think everybody in WWE still has such a soft heart and soft spot for Eddie Guerrero that anything the Mysterios want to do, that they just let him have it.
Yeah, I get what you're saying there, Will.
All right, so the final two things that I'm going to say. So Jemai saying that he wants to see Sean Spears win the Owen, and then Scott is saying that he bets that Jungle Boy will actually win it if he's healthy. So Sean Spears and Jungle Boy. Those are two options that they have out there. Which Jungle Boy, maybe.
What about Hook? Hook is really
Hook, yeah. I was thinking Hook.
That might be my pick right now until we get to know who's in there. I say Hook.
I almost went with Pillman Jr. there too.
Oh, Pillman Jr. That'd be a good match. Him and Hook would be, I think, a good match.
I think, yeah. If you seen Rampage this past week, man, Hook is over like a Red Rover, man. He is. They
He
they
still looks like a punk though. I don't like
He
the
is.
Hook.
I mean, he's only got his third match coming in, but he's destined. They said in Greensboro after the show, when David Crockett and them came out, they said the next time they're in Greensboro, it's going to be Hook versus Cody Rhodes. So, but that crowd they love him, man. They love him for some reason,
Hook,
and
yeah.
I don't know why, but he is their flavor right now. They
Yep.
just
I think whoever wins the Owen tournament is going to be a second or third generation wrestler.
Yeah.
Ooh.
All right, so now we'll jump into our next one. So our wrestler discussion topic, Kane. We're going to discuss Kane. So Will, you kind of want to? Are we just talking about Kane in general? Like this is kind of where I was confused about this. Like, what'd you?
Yeah, so a lot of times back in the day in like the magazines and stuff, they would do an article on a specific talent or a specific character, and they would tell you all about them and talk about stuff like that. So I just wanted to kind of touch on different characters each week and kind of discuss a couple things. So I've had the opportunity on more than one occasion to meet him, and I really wanted to talk about him. Talk about the person first before we talk about the character. The guy is just absolutely tremendous in person. You cannot find a nicer guy. You can't find somebody who's more intelligent. He's very quick-witted. When you're carrying on a conversation with him, he's right there with you. And the guy goes above and beyond to take care of his fans and take care of his people like nobody you've ever seen. And, that's from him as a person. From a character standpoint, of course, we had the debut. We had a couple world titles. We had some intercontinental titles, some tag titles, stuff like that. From the character, one of the things I wanted to talk about was the missed opportunities where, there was a lot of time in WWE where he could have been multiple-time world heavyweight champion, and they really dropped the ball with that. There was some really down times and some really dark times where they needed somebody to really run with that belt. And there were some times where Triple H may have had the title a little too long, where they could have easily put it on Kane, and it would have been extremely believable. And I think there was a belief in the office at some point that he wasn't a big enough draw to really run the company or push the company forward. So if you look at like 99, 2000 era, you had a lot of Triple H, you had a lot of The Rock going back and forth with the belt, and you had The Undertaker in there for a short time here and there. You had Austin out for quite a bit, during that time. There were so many opportunities right through there where he could have been world champion. You fast forward over to Survivor Series 2001. You made Kane a more believable character. You made him a more personable character to the fans and stuff like that. End of 2001, into 2002, tremendous opportunity for him to be the world heavyweight champion there. They missed that opportunity there. Fast forward to 2004. Look at the WWE Championship. You had Guerrero take it off of Lesnar, and then, of course, you had JBL take it off of Guerrero. And then you had that whole JBL run where he was, WWE champion and, coming out playing the rich man character. All through that whole run, you could have had Kane as the WWE champion. It would have been so much more believable, would have drawn so much more money. And at the end point of that, you could have had JBL take it from him because at some point you have to get it ready to drop it to John Cena at WrestleMania 21. But, going back to JBL having that title, that was such a dark time for WWE. And, viewership was down. Nobody wanted to see JBL with that title. And he beat a lot of, competitors during that time that really should have took that belt off him. He was beating The Undertaker, he was beating Booker T, he was beating all these guys where he definitely shouldn't have. And you had a tremendous missed opportunity there. So that was one of the things I wanted to talk about, as far as with Kane. Those are a couple of memories that I had of him. Of course, you have the huge highlights where, he wins the Money in the Bank, cashes in, wins the World Championship in the same night, But some of the other stuff where, they missed opportunities is really what I was kind of focused on.
Well, I think everybody knows how I truly feel about Kane. Will, you know that he's one of my favorites of all time, if not my favorite of all time. So I would love
Next to Goldberg.
I would love to meet Kane. Like I truly would. Anytime I get a chance to get anything with Kane, I would. Like I have several autographs of Kane because he is one of my favorites. I have several action figures of Kane. So anytime I get a chance, he's there. And so Kane, I truly respected his whole entire career. I know that there's been a lot of debates on whether or not, Kane would be that same guy had he not been paired with the Undertaker. And but it's a tough debate. It really is because you don't know. Like you just don't know. I think Kane still would have been able to hold his own, but I don't know if he would have been as big of a name. But I truly respect
he
still
had to
what
be
Kane did.
paired. He had to be paired with the Undertaker to make it believable. But if you look at the timeline, what I'm talking about, that was already done and over with in like 97, 98.
Yeah.
And then you got from 98 to 04, you're talking about 6 years. I mean that's a huge gap where he could have definitely been on top. There was 2 belts in there for 2.5 years of that, 2 world titles. And if you look at who was holding that WWE title, they're nothing compared to Kane. I mean, I'm sorry to disrespect people like JBL, who is a tremendous talent in his own, but if you put JBL next to Kane, 2 totally different people.
Oh yeah, definitely. Kane is that guy. I said it for a long time before Kane, technically retired. I wanted them to give one. I wanted to give Kane one last title run that I think he rightfully deserved, and he never got it. I know they gave him title matches, but they never really gave him that rightful run that he deserved. He did win, Money in the Bank, and then won the World Heavyweight title. Held it for I think it was like 4 or 5 months. It was a decent run then, but he never really got that true overall like deep run. But Joe, your thoughts on Kane?
Overrated.
Hey, you get that out of your mouth, sir.
Worst wrestler ever in the worst town possible. No. I think Kane, he had a believable character from the beginning. I'm glad that he had the Kane character compared to his previous characters that he had.
There's many of them.
Isaac Yankem and Fake Diesel, which at that time scared me because when they said Diesel and Razor Ramon were coming back, I really thought Kevin Nash and Scott Hall were coming back to Raw that night. I was worried, man. I was panicking as a teenager. But Kane overall, he's a guy that he was able to adapt and change. He was a lovable guy where everybody kind of, he had to put that thing up to his throat and talk. Make his voice sound the way it did. Only time I was disappointed with the Kane character was when they unmasked him because they built him up as a guy that was disfigured a lot.
Yep.
And then when it came off, at quick glance, how they did it was interesting because they like, oh, maybe he was. But then when they did another close up and you seen the pain around his eyes, that's the only time I was really disappointed because I was expecting something different with their makeup department.
Disfigured.
What's
emotionally
that?
Disfigured. He was emotionally disfigured.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But at that time when they were, I didn't even think of it as that way. But you're right.
No, I think that's what we all expected.
When Paul built him up as he got burned in the fire and stuff, I'm expecting a Freddy Krueger kind of like face, a little bit, at least a little bit of it, and then you can go have plastic surgery later on and look like the Kane that you look like now. But for a guy, man, he had for half the time of his career. Can you imagine going through the airport with your head half shaved and looking the way you did?
Yeah.
That poor guy probably got looks upon looks, not only being 6'8", 6'9", wherever he is up there.
And Vince wanted him to wear a ski mask everywhere he went.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. Yes. In the beginning, he had the ski mask when his mouth. That's right. When he was in the car and everything, he always had a ski mask on.
Wow, yeah. I did not know that.
I would hate to be in the town when the bank got robbed or something. They said the guy was wearing a ski mask and pulled him over and asked him to step out of the car, and he just keeps, stepping out, and reaching. Yeah. It's not you. You can go on now. overall, I enjoy the character. I enjoy the figures, man, because we still keep getting new figures of Kane. Some of them are rehashed ones, but with technology the way it is, they make them look a lot better. I just got his Ultimate Edition from somebody on this website here,
Oh, I
and
wonder who.
it's still sitting in the
Yes.
box. I got it at a Target parking lot, I believe it was. I picked it up at. Uh, really cool figure. I mean, I enjoy those Kane figures. I got a black one that's black with the red fire flames going up the side of it. It looks really cool. So overall, I think he was a good guy. I think
Yeah,
a couple more title runs.
if you're a figure guy, get that Ultimate Kane because it is really nice.
Yes, and it comes with that cape, which is going to be the only time you'll see it. 'Cause I believe he only did it once or twice on television, and they kind of just threw that cape away, and that was the end of that. In fact, Kane just did a interview
Was
online where they were talking about him and Doc Gallows and why that feud never happened, and it was because Luke Gallows came out with that god awful hairpiece, and Vince is like, "That's it. This feud's over with already," before it ever got going.
All right. So now we're at the very end of it to where we kind of just do the final wrap up here. So Big B, I'll start with you. Any final thoughts for you?
No. I mean, one. I don't know if you guys know. I know Ace. We talked about a little bit. A couple days ago was the 1 year anniversary of Brody Lee passing, which I think kind of shocked the whole wrestling industry. So I just want to remember that for a few seconds here. But outside of that, I think wrestling right now is kind of on a down spiral rating wise and talent wise. But I think we'll bounce back here hopefully sooner than later and get some good action going.
I think we will. All right, Joe, any final thoughts?
No, I was just looking at some internet stuff, and it looks like AEW's taping their dark matches tonight, and it looks like they just signed Jake Atlas to a contract. So there goes another WWE guy to AEW. But to touch on Big B's thing on Brody, yeah, it was a shock when I heard it.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't believe it, and then I have so much. Even though we talk bad about AEW with like them signing the wrestlers and things like that, or what they're doing on TV, I have to give so much respect and props to AEW because when Brody was going through that, only a select few people knew,
Yep.
and everybody kept it quiet. And that's why a lot of wrestlers say they have signed with AEW. It was based upon that they were good friends with Brody, and then
Yep.
when they went there, they realized how many people knew and how quiet it was, and nobody said anything out of respect, which is a hard thing to do in a business because usually when somebody sneezes the wrong way,
Yep.
it's
all
on the
over the
internet
place.
right away.
Yep.
I love how they have gave his son a contract as soon as he is able to wrestle, and how they keep that memory alive. And if you haven't seen his new figure coming out next year, man, that thing is off the chart with that Dark Order series. It's going to be a hot seller.
Oh yeah.
And CM Punk's figure will be a hot seller for an AEW, and so will Bryan Danielson. And then when they do the Owen Hart figure, AEW is going to make some killer money coming
Oh,
up
that
with those
Brody Lee is
figures.
going to be just off the chart. I
Mhm.
couldn't even imagine how much Will could probably get that in an auction for.
All right, and then Will, any final thoughts for you?
Yeah, a couple thoughts. First of all, talking about Brody, definitely prayers to his wife and family. Man, that's such a horrible thing at such a young age, and so many friends and so many people. And he's another one of them that nobody had a bad thing to say about him. So definitely, I wish for prayers and stuff for his family. Nothing but goodness. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Really appreciate that. Over in TRC, we've been off for a couple weeks, and we're really looking forward to getting back on Sunday night at 8:00. So it'll be our first live sale of the year. So please come join us, come hang out, guys. Even if you're not buying stuff, man, come check out all the new stuff, all the good stuff. We just had another convention in Philadelphia a couple weeks ago, and got to see quite a few people. And at the beginning of the show, I was actually wearing my signed Godfather hat. So we'll have some of those available and some other great stuff too. So definitely come check us out. Huge shout out to Top Rope Collectibles for all the support that they give me. Huge shout out to Coast to Coast Entertainment Network.
Yep.
Shout out to Thoughts Count Anywhere podcast. Great friends of mine over there too. So I appreciate all the support. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for the questions. Please ask questions anytime. It helps the show. It helps us get engaged with people. And one thing that I want to see, my New Year's prediction, or my New Year's, what should I say? Yeah, I'm going to go with New Year's prediction instead of anything else. My New Year's prediction is I think we'll see more of our followers and our watchers of the show join us on the show in 2022. So, guys, if you want to jump on and you want to come see us, let us know and we'll talk about it and we'll get some folks on here and we're going to do some really cool things with that. So, Big B, glad to see you back with us. Hope you had a great holiday, sir. And I always enjoy interrupting you trying to talk. So you know how it is. But Joe, good to see you again. It's good to see you in some light. Usually I see you in the dark, so that's cool. And I hope everybody at Coast to Coast. Yeah, I know. Hope everybody on Coast to Coast had a great holiday and a great Christmas. And can't tell you how much I appreciate all of you. And I hope to see you guys on Sunday night at 8 o'clock in Top Rope Collectibles. Ace, what do you got?
All right, so I do want to thank everybody for watching another episode of Tuesday Night Mania. You know, we have great shows every single night of the week here on Coast to Coast Entertainment Network. Don't forget to tune in. We have shows basically for anybody who enjoys it. You know, we have health and beauty shows. We have movie shows. We tonight we even had trivia. So if you're a trivia person that likes to even come on and see if you can win a trivia show, Tuesday nights it is a great time to try it. We're always looking for people to hop on our trivia show and try it out. It's just like Jeopardy. Basically, that's what we play is Jeopardy. We just throw up random topics and you come out and try it out, see how well you can do. So with that, you know, tonight, everybody, or I should say tomorrow night, you'll tune in for actually several shows tomorrow. We have Holistic Hot Mamas, and then we have the Bo and Joe show. And then let's not forget we have Sports Minute tomorrow night too. So with that, everybody have a fantastic night, and we'll see you next Tuesday for another episode of Tuesday Night Mania. Have a great night.
Peace.